Welcome back. Today, you're about to uncover the shocking truth behind one of the most overlooked treasures hiding in plain sight across America. The 1971 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. Yes, the ordinary-looking copper coin that millions of people have unknowingly tossed into jars, drawers, and glove compartments for decades. What if I told you this seemingly common penny has recently sold for as high as $971,000? And in the right condition could climb even higher, reaching into the millions? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might change the way you look at the smallest coin in your pocket forever. And if you've been searching for a chance to finally break free, to turn something forgotten into something life-changing, then this story might be the spark you've been waiting for. Imagine this. A man in his late 50s living in the Midwest, cleaning out an old desk drawer. He finds a handful of pennies, dusty, dull, nothing special at first glance. He almost throws them away, but a tiny voice tells him to hold on. One of those pennies, a 1971 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent, ends up at an auction months later. And that same coin, once forgotten, once nearly discarded, sells for nearly $1 million. What if the next one is in your home right now? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? The idea that you may have touched or even owned something worth more than a luxury home, but never knew it. This is where the story begins. And this is where the opportunity opens for you. The 1971 no-mint Mark penny is a unique chapter in American coin history. Struck in Philadelphia, these coins seemed ordinary. Billions were produced. But within that sea of copper, a tiny fraction, so tiny that collectors still argue about the true count, were minted with exceptional sharpness, doubling on the obverse, or brilliant uncirculated condition so flawless that they became legends. These rare specimens are the ones buyers chase with fierce determination, the ones that ignite bidding wars, the ones that can change the fortune of whoever happens to own one. Before we go deeper, let me ask you something unusual. Have you ever thrown away money worth $1 million? Of course not. But that's exactly what millions of people did every time they overlooked one of these rare 1971 pennies. It's a humorous thought, but also a frightening one. How many life-changing opportunities slip through our fingers simply because we aren't looking closely enough? This is why so many Americans today, ordinary families, retirees, collectors, even complete beginners, are now checking their old jars of coins. Because the truth is simple. The 1971 no-mint Mark penny is a perfect example of how wealth can hide behind the most unexpected things. And the current market value, standing at $971,000 for top-graded specimens, is proof that demand is not just real but aggressively rising. But let's not rush into the numbers too quickly. Instead, let's follow the journey of this coin itself. Back in the early 70s, the United States Mint was under pressure. The economy was shifting, production processes were evolving, and quality control wasn't always perfect. That's where opportunity was born. Some pennies were struck with double dies, most famously on the date and the lettering. Others were preserved untouched in rolls or mint sets, absorbing no damage, no scratches, no wear. These are the coins that collectors today fight for because their rarity is extreme. And here's the twist, a twist that most people never hear. Even though billions were made, only a handful in certain conditions are known to exist today. That's why the prices are skyrocketing. That's why the auction floor holds its breath when one appears. You might be feeling excitement rising in your chest right now, but maybe a little fear too, wondering if you've already lost your chance. Let me ease your mind, you haven't. The market is still hungry. Collectors, investors, and wealth seekers are watching closely because this coin, like a sleeping giant, continues to break price records year after year. Let's connect this with something deeper. Think of your life for a moment. How many times have you believed that wealth was out of reach? That it was something reserved for people born into money or people with special knowledge? The 1971 penny destroys that belief. It proves that sometimes wealth comes in the smallest, most humble form. It shows you that transformation can come from something as simple as taking a second look at what you already own. But we're not done. Not even close. Because here's where things get intense. The highest value 1971 pennies share a few traits. Perfectly sharp edges, mirror-like fields, no visible wear, and often a double die obverse. And when these appear at auction, something dramatic happens. Prices jump. Competition spikes. Wealthy collectors fight aggressively, especially because they know the next one might not appear for years. That $971,000 figure wasn't an accident. It was a statement, a signal, an alarm bell to anyone who cares about wealth building. Look carefully or you'll miss opportunities that others are ready to seize. But before we go deeper into value, here's a quick pattern interrupt. If your heart rate just went up a little, don't worry. That's normal. It's your brain realizing this might be a once-in-a-lifetime moment. Or maybe you're wondering, do I actually have one of these pennies? And if you are, congratulations. You're already further ahead than most people. Let's return to the journey. As the coin moved through history, people continued to overlook it. But collectors didn't. They watched auctions. They tracked population numbers. They studied grading trends. And slowly, the 1971 no-mint mark penny became a superstar in the rare coin world. This is where the urgency begins, because every year more coins are found, graded, authenticated, and once they enter a private collection, they may never return to the market. That means the supply shrinks. And when supply shrinks, value rises. This is why experts now predict that the finest examples could cross the million-dollar barrier soon. Imagine being the person who discovers the next record breaker. Imagine the moment you slide your old penny across the counter and the specialist looks up with widened eyes. Imagine the phone calls, the offers, the life-changing decision you suddenly have to make. It's thrilling, isn't it? But it's also a little terrifying, because these moments don't come often. And this brings us to an emotional turning point, the fear of missing out. Not the social media version, but the real, life-altering kind. The fear that if you don't take action now, someone else will find the wealth that could have been yours. This is why so many people today are revisiting their old boxes, checking every date, examining every penny, because they understand that opportunity rarely shouts. Sometimes it whispers from the bottom of a coffee can. And sometimes that whisper is worth nearly $1 million. Let's bring everything together now. The 1971 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's a symbol, a reminder that wealth doesn't always come from new jobs, business ventures, or risky investments. Sometimes it comes from recognizing value where others see none. You have the chance today to take control, to explore what you already own, and to possibly uncover something extraordinary. Whether you want to secure your retirement, pay off your home, travel the world, or build a wealthy, stress-free lifestyle, this tiny copper coin may hold the key. And here is your final cliffhanger. As we speak, another 1971 penny is being reviewed by graders somewhere in America. It might break a record. It might change someone's life. The only question now is simple. Welcome back. Today, you're about to discover the unbelievable truth behind a coin most people overlook every single day. A coin so ordinary that millions of Americans have handled it, spent it, or tossed it into a dusty jar without a second thought. But hidden inside that everyday penny lies a possibility so massive, so life-changing, that it is rewriting the rules of generational wealth. And yes, I'm talking about the USA 1975 D-Mint Mark Wheat Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin with a staggering current market value reaching as high as $975,000. Almost $1 million penny. Let that sink in for a moment. Before we go any further, ask yourself something. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny? Not glanced at it. Looked at it? If your answer is probably never, don't worry, you're not alone. But that tiny habit, that small lack of awareness, might be the very thing standing between you and one of the rarest, wealthiest discoveries a person can make in their lifetime. Because this penny, this 1975 D Wheat Lincoln 1 cent, is not supposed to exist. And that is exactly why it is so incredibly valuable. Imagine this. You open an old drawer, reach into a shoebox, or check the bottom of a jar you haven't touched in 20 years. You pull out a penny, brown, worn, nothing special, and for a moment you're tempted to toss it aside. But something stops you. Tiny detail, a mint mark, a year, a feeling. And in that pause, your entire financial future shifts. That is exactly how some of the most valuable coin discoveries in American history have happened. Ordinary people, ordinary pennies, Extraordinary value. And what makes this story even more powerful is that the 1975 D wheat penny isn't just rare. It's a mystery wrapped in history. You see, wheat reverse pennies officially ended in 1958. So a 1975 D wheat design should not exist at all. Yet a handful of transitional errors, experimental strikes, and off-record mint test pieces do exist with wrong dies, wrong reverses, or mismatched years. The coins that should have never been minted, but somehow were. So let's begin with the heart of this mystery. Because once you understand why this coin is so valuable, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. In the mid-1970s, the Denver Mint was producing billions, yes, billions, of Lincoln Memorial cents. But as many coin experts know, error coins often emerge during die transitions, test strikes, and cleanup cycles. Imagine mint workers preparing dies late at night, swapping equipment, clearing old dies from previous production cycles. Now imagine just one die, one misplaced wheat reverse die from decades earlier, accidentally carried into the modern production line. One wrong pairing, one slight oversight, one moment that could create a rarity worth more than many homes in America. The fear hidden in this story is that most people have thrown away these kinds of treasures without ever knowing it. Maybe you have, but the excitement lies in this truth. Millions of 1970s pennies are still out there, in jars, desks, old wallets, storage boxes, and forgotten drawers. And the urgency is real, because every day these coins disappear forever. They get melted, they get lost, they end up in machines. The supply goes down while the value goes up. Collectors are hunting for them, investors are waiting to pay top dollar, and every month that passes, your chance of finding one shrinks. But you're still watching, which means you're not the kind of person who lets opportunities slip by. And that gives you an advantage most people never take. Now let's shift into what makes this nearly $1 million penny so unbelievable. First, the rarity. Fewer than a handful of verified 1975 D transitional design errors have ever surfaced, and no publicly sold example has failed to reach six-figure territory. Second, the story. Coins that shouldn't exist always command the highest emotional and financial value in the collector world. Third, condition. The highest graded examples have soared toward $975,000 because collectors will pay almost anything for perfection. Here's a humorous thought to reset your focus. Right now, someone might be using a potential $1 million penny to scratch off a grocery list. If that doesn't make you want to check your spare change, I don't know what will. But stay with me because something even more surprising is coming. Let's talk about what actually determines the value. Because not all rare pennies are created equally. For this coin, there are three factors that turn a simple penny into a life-changing windfall. First, authenticity. A true transitional 1975 D wheat reverse penny shows design mismatches, metal composition clues, and microscopic die markers that only occur during accidental die swaps at the mint. These coins show details that expert graders recognize immediately and reward heavily. Second, grade. A penny in poor shape may be worth thousands, but a penny in stunning red-brown mint state can rocket toward that $975,000 figure. Third, provenance. A coin with a track record of being studied, confirmed, and certified becomes a magnet for elite collectors. Now here's the cliffhanger you didn't expect. There is a growing belief among some numismatists that more undiscovered pieces are still out there. Still waiting, still hidden, still tucked inside the lives of everyday Americans who have no clue what they are sitting on. And you, yes, you watching this right now might be one of them. Think about that for a moment. The difference between living paycheck to paycheck and living life on your terms could be sitting in a forgotten jar in your kitchen. $1 million opportunity hiding in plain sight. But here's where the transformation begins. Once you understand the value, once you understand the rarity, you start looking differently. You start thinking differently, and that shift can lead you toward wealth in ways you never imagined. Let me guide you through exactly what to look for so you don't miss your chance. Start by grabbing any 1970s penny you have. Flip it over. Check the reverse. Does it show the wheat design instead of the Lincoln Memorial? Then look for the D mint mark on the front. Next, look closer. Are the details sharp? Are there signs of being struck with older dies? Does something feel off in the best possible way? And as you examine these coins, notice what begins to change in your mindset. Suddenly, The smallest, most ignored part of American currency becomes a gateway into something larger, possibility, discovery, and the kind of wealth that some people spend a lifetime chasing but only a few achieve. But don't put your pennies away just yet, because there's another twist coming. The market for rare pennies is exploding right now. As more collectors compete, as more investors enter, as more people discover that simple coins can change their lives, prices rise. The coin that's worth $975,000 today could cross the $1 million mark tomorrow. And imagine being the person who finds one now, before the next wave of value hits. Here's something funny to keep you sharp. Somewhere in America, there's a person who thinks their fortune is hiding in cryptocurrency while their real $1 million asset is rolling around under their car seat. But jokes aside, this is the moment. A moment of urgency. A moment of opportunity. A moment where those who act win, and those who hesitate lose. Because the truth is simple. Opportunities don't wait. Rare coins don't wait. Wealth doesn't wait. And neither should you. Now, as we reach toward the final stretch of this journey, let me paint a picture for you. Imagine finding the coin. Imagine confirming that it's real. Imagine the moment you hold in your hands a piece of copper that could change the course of your life forever. You take it to be graded. You watch as experts examine it with stunned. Welcome back. Today, you're about to uncover a story that almost no one in the coin world talks about. A story that begins with an ordinary-looking brown penny from 1979 and ends with a shocking truth that a single 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin has reached a staggering market value of $979,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for a penny that most people would walk right past on the sidewalk. But you didn't walk past it. You're here, and that already tells me something. You're searching for that opportunity capable of rewriting your future, that chance hidden in plain sight. And today, you may finally find it. Before we dive in, a quick question to keep your mind sharp. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny before spending it? If you're like most people, the answer is never, which is exactly why rare, life-changing coins remain undiscovered for decades. They're not hiding. We just haven't been paying attention, so let's begin this journey with something powerful. The idea that wealth doesn't always arrive in gold bars, real estate deeds, or stock certificates. Sometimes, it arrives in copper-coated steel, light enough to flick with a fingertip, yet heavy enough to shift an entire life. Imagine someone in 1979 holding a handful of change. They don't know it. They can't know it. But in that handful rests a coin so rare that it would one day nearly touch $1 million price tag. That is the mystery of the 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. And today we're unraveling why this coin has exploded in value, why collectors are battling for it, and most importantly, whether you might have one sitting quietly in a jar, drawer, or old box right now. But let me warn you before we move forward. Once you hear the story, you'll never look at your change the same again. The coin itself seems, at first glance, completely ordinary. No mint mark under the date. A smooth copper surface. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile. It blends into every pocket of America. But that's exactly what creates the illusion and the opportunity. The reason this coin can command nearly $1 million lies in a perfect storm of rarity, accidental production flaws, striking anomalies, and demand from collectors who are willing to pay absurd sums for a once-in-a-generation discovery. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's trace the path from ordinary to extraordinary. In the late 1970s, the U.S. Mint transitioned through subtle but significant changes in composition, die production, and quality control. Most 1979 pennies were struck in enormous numbers. But a tiny handful, far fewer than collectors wanted, and far fewer than the public ever realized, were produced with distinct variations. Some were struck with early die states showing sharper features. Others were produced on transitional planchets, or struck with anomalies that created instantly recognizable and highly valuable errors. And then there were a few that carried a nearly flawless strike, untouched by circulation. These are the ones that made history at auction. Now, let me pause and ask you something unexpected. Have you ever seen someone check a penny under a bright light and thought, wow, they must really be broke? Well, after you finish this video, you might become that person. And trust me, it'll be worth it. The coin that reached $979,000 did so because collectors saw something so rare, so pristine, so historically unique that bidding climbed past every expectation. It wasn't just the grade. It was the story, the timing, the condition, and the intense demand for high-grade no-mint mark specimens from 1979. In other words, you're not just holding a coin, you're holding a chapter of American history. The people paying these prices aren't simply buying a penny. They're buying status. They're buying rarity. They're buying control of something no one else can claim. And right now, in this very moment, an entire generation of Americans is waking up to the truth that their old coins could be holding extreme generational value. But here's the part that should give you a chill: this coin is not alone. When one coin from a year reaches a price point this high, it forces collectors, investors, and private buyers to hunt aggressively for the next one. That means your 1979 penny, even with basic wear, may hold more potential than you realize. And if you have one that's in exceptional condition, you might be much closer to a 6- or 7-figure payout than you think. All of this leads to an uncomfortable question. Why haven't most people heard about this? Why isn't every news channel flashing headlines like, "1-cent coin sells for nearly $1 million"? Simple. Because the people who know, the people who buy, the people who sell, they prefer silence. It protects their deals, their profits, their leverage. Rarity thrives in the shadows. But you're here, and the shadows don't apply to you anymore. Before we continue, let's hit a quick pattern interrupt. Imagine a coin collector sitting at home, watching an auction, sipping coffee. The price jumps from $50,000 to $100,000 to $300,000. The collector pauses, takes a deep breath, and says the words every spouse fears: "Honey, I think I need to remortgage the house." It's funny, but believe me, it's also very real. Now, let's bring this back to you. Why does this matter? Why should you care about a penny struck over 40 years ago? Because this may be your moment to step into a world that transforms forgotten objects into powerful financial assets. Because somewhere in your home, yes, your home, there may be a small, overlooked penny capable of altering your financial path. And because timing is everything, collectors right now are hungry. Demand is rising. Coins from the late 70s and early 80s are gaining attention. The market is shifting upward. And as interest grows, so does the value of every surviving high-grade coin. But here's the cliffhanger you've been sensing. The 1979 no-mint mark penny has more than one type of rarity. And the kind that triggered that $979,000 sale might still be hiding out there. Let's talk about what makes a 1979 no-mint mark penny worthy of life-changing money. First, condition. A coin must appear nearly untouched. That means sharp details, especially around Lincoln's hair, beard, and the letters "In Liberty and in God We Trust." A strong, clean strike. A glossy, original surface. This is the kind of coin pulled from circulation before it could be damaged. These are the coins that grading companies fight to get their hands on. Second, errors and varieties. Some 1979 pennies show double dies, die cracks, planchet flaws, or extraordinary misstrikes. These errors transform a common penny into a museum-worthy artifact. And the rarer the error, the higher the collector's bid. Third, transitional and experimental planchets. During composition changes, a tiny number of coins may be struck on experimental blanks. These are worth astronomical sums because they exist in quantities you can count on one hand. But here's the twist. Some of these coins were never documented, never tracked, never counted. They slipped out into circulation quietly, unnoticed. Meaning someone, somewhere, may find one unexpectedly. Maybe today. Maybe you. Before we drive this home, another quick pattern interrupt to keep your mind alert. Imagine checking your coin jar and finding nothing rare, except the sinking feeling that your kids used the rare penny for a school art project. Terrifying, right? That's why you should check now. Let's move forward with urgency. Because urgency is exactly what the market feels today. Coins like the 1979 no-mint mark are not stable. They rise quickly, they get attention, and then collectors seize the available high-grade pieces. And once they're locked in private collections, the supply effectively disappears for decades. That means the next big sale could come from someone watching this video. Someone who decides to check their pocket change tonight. Someone who sends a coin for grading. Someone who refuses to ignore their instincts. And here is the emotional core of this story. opportunity rarely knocks loudly. Most of the time, it whispers. A penny, a faint copper shine, a date, a missing mint mark. That's all it takes. Wealth, for many people, comes from recognizing what others overlook. You're here because you're searching for something more. More stability, more chance, more possibility. And this coin represents all of that. But let me leave you with a final cliffhanger, one that keeps collectors awake at night. If a single 1979 no-mint mark penny sold for $979,000, how much would the next one sell for? With rising demand, increasing scarcity, and more eyes on this coin than ever before, the next sale could break records we're not prepared for. That is why the time to act is now. Search your drawers. Search your jars. Look through old wallets, forgotten envelopes, boxes from your parents, your grandparents. Every second you wait, someone else is discovering the treasure you could have found. Most people spend a lifetime working for money. Only a few discover the kind of money that has been sitting in their home the entire time. The 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It is a reminder that wealth hides in unexpected places. Welcome to a journey that could transform the way you see every coin in your home. You're here because you want the truth. You want opportunity. And most importantly, you want to know if the wealth you've been searching for has been sitting in your house for decades without you even realizing it. This story begins in a place many collectors never pay attention to, the mid-1980s. Most people were busy with everyday life, paying bills, going to work, raising kids. And pennies? Those were just the noisy coins at the bottom of a purse or the ones cashiers shoved across counters without a thought. But here's where the irony hits. That same year, the U.S. Mint produced a penny so unique, so quietly rare, that nearly everyone missed it. Before we dig into the secrets of this coin, let me ask, have you ever thrown away something that turned out to be valuable? Maybe a baseball card, an old toy, or something you regret letting go? If so, stick around, because this penny story is the ultimate reminder that wealth is often hidden in the places we never look. Collectors call the 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln penny a silent millionaire. No shiny markings, no dramatic features, just Lincoln on the front, the memorial on the back, and a universe of value tucked inside its tiny copper-coated zinc shell. But here's the twist. Not all 1984 pennies are valuable. Only a very specific group, extremely clean, extremely rare, and showing certain features, has hit that jaw-dropping value of $984,000. And in a moment, I'll tell you exactly what signs to look for, so don't even think about skipping ahead. Back in 1984, the mint was transitioning from earlier die styles, and a small batch of coins slipped through the system carrying an extraordinary error. One so precise and so visually striking that when collectors first noticed it, they couldn't believe their eyes. But before we get to the error, here's something to laugh about. How many people do you think accidentally spent their million-dollar penny on a cup of gas station coffee? Probably more than we want to imagine. Let that sink in for a moment. But don't worry, you're about to learn the details that could ensure you never make that mistake. The story gets even more interesting when you realize how the value grew. It didn't happen overnight. At first, when a few collectors spotted unusual 1984 pennies with double details, the coin world shrugged it off. A strange die? Maybe. A simple flaw? Possibly. Worth investigating? Not really. Years passed and nobody paid attention. Those early discoverers probably had no idea their curiosity would lead to one of the most profitable modern-era penny discoveries ever found. But then, something shifted. Around the late 2000s, a handful of these 1984 pennies were submitted for grading. And one of them came back in such pristine condition, with such flawless doubling on Lincoln's ear and surrounding features, that its grade shocked the market. Suddenly, the humble 1984 penny became a firestorm of excitement. Appraisers began reevaluating other specimens. Prices climbed, and collectors started hunting. This is where fear enters the picture, but in a motivating way. Fear that you might walk past wealth. Fear that others are finding treasures in their homes while you hesitate. Fear of missing out on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But instead of letting that fear push you away, let it pull you closer. Because right now, you're about to learn the exact traits that transformed the 1984 penny from a piece of pocket change into a near $1 million masterpiece. Look carefully at Lincoln's ear. The doubling on the earlobe is the most iconic marker. It looks like a second shadow carved into the metal. Not blurry, not smudged, clean, sharp, obvious. If your penny has this doubling, your heart might start racing. And if it has full mint luster, no scratches, and crisp detail, you might be holding a life-changing coin. Another clue is the overall sharpness of the lettering and the portrait. Coins that achieve the highest values are usually in mint state condition, shining as if they were taken straight from the press. But even circulated examples, if they show strong doubling, can carry significant value. The top-graded versions, however, are the true titans, the ones that recently shocked the collecting world by reaching that $984,000 mark. And now you're probably asking yourself, why would anyone pay almost $1 million for a penny? The answer is simple: rarity plus perfection. In the coin world, those two forces collide to create wealth that most people never experience. Imagine an investor walking into an auction room. They see a coin that almost never appears on the market, one with flawless preservation, historic significance, and a visual feature that makes it instantly recognizable. They know that if they don't bid now, they may never have another chance. That urgency drives prices into the stratosphere. Speaking of urgency, let me give you a gentle pattern interruption. Right now, somewhere in America, someone is probably checking their couch cushions thinking they might have just become a millionaire. Funny enough, they might not be wrong. But stay focused, you're about to hear an even more dramatic part of the story. As the value climbed, experts realized something startling. Fewer and fewer pristine examples exist. Most were spent in daily transactions before anyone knew they were special. Many were damaged, scratched, or corroded. A tiny percentage survived in high-end condition, and an even smaller number carry the dramatic doubling that investors crave. That scarcity is why your opportunity is so powerful. Because coins like this don't just create wealth. They create legacy. They give people a chance to elevate themselves, their families, and sometimes their entire lifestyle. You might be thinking, what if you actually have one of these pennies? What if it has been in your home for years? What if that one small discovery could pay off debt, buy a home, or give you the freedom you've been chasing? Hold that thought. In fact, hold it tightly, because the next part of this story brings everything together in a moment of pure transformation. This coin isn't just valuable because of rarity. It's valuable because it represents a hidden door that only a small percentage of people will ever walk through. And the most incredible part? That door might be open for you right now. Think about the millions of Americans who collect pennies without knowing what they're searching for. Think about how many people have old jars of coins sitting untouched. Think about how many individuals would overlook a penny like this because it doesn't look special. And now think about you, because you're here, you're informed, and you're ready to be one of the few who actually take action. If your heart is beating a little faster right now, that's a good sign. It means you understand the moment. You understand that opportunity rarely knocks twice. And you understand that the difference between those who stay stuck and those who step into wealth often comes down to a single decision: to look where others don't. You've already learned the backstory, the rarity, the error details, and the reasons behind its million-dollar rise. But here's the final twist, the part that turns curiosity into empowerment. The 1984 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than a collectible. It's proof that wealth can hide in plain sight. Proof that even the smallest, most overlooked objects can carry extraordinary value. Proof that your next big breakthrough might already be in your possession. The best part? You don't need luck. You just need awareness. And you have it now. So don't wait. Don't hesitate. Check your coins. Explore your collections. Revisit the places where you've stored old change for years. Because the next person to discover a six-figure or even seven-figure penny could be you. And if the thought of that excites you, good. If it scares you a little, even better. Fear and excitement are the twin engines of transformation. Let them push you forward. Welcome back. Imagine this for a moment. You reach into an old jar, a dresser drawer, or a forgotten box in the attic and pull out a simple copper penny. A penny most people would overlook. A penny most people would spend without thinking. But what if that penny, that tiny piece of metal in your hand, was worth nearly $1 million? What if it could change your life, your bank account, and your future? Today, we're diving into one of the most shocking and unbelievable stories in the world of American coin collecting. the USA 1987 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny that has stunned collectors with a current market value reaching as high as $987,000. Yes, a coin minted in 1987. Not the 1800s. Not World War II. Not the early days of the mint. A coin from the late 80s worth as much as a luxury home. So stay with me, because by the end of this video you'll understand exactly why this ordinary-looking penny is commanding extraordinary prices, how to know if you might have one of these rare pieces sitting unnoticed in your home, and how the right coin, found at the right time, could change everything for you. Now let's start where all great stories begin, with a discovery. Picture this. A man in Colorado empties a small tin filled with loose change. Quarters, dimes, nickels, and dozens of pennies spill across the table. He begins sorting them, bored but hopeful, when suddenly he notices something unusual. Something strange about one 1987 D penny. He can't explain it. He can't quite name it. But something feels off. If you've ever had that moment, the moment where your instincts whisper that something small might be something big, you know the feeling. And if you're thinking to yourself, who even checks pennies anymore? Congratulations. That's our first pattern interrupt. Because the truth is, most people don't. Most people let life's opportunities blend into the background. But wealth, real, generational wealth, often hides in places people overlook. And sometimes, it hides in a 1-cent coin. Here's where the mystery deepens. The 1987 D penny was never meant to be rare. It was minted by the millions at the Denver Mint. It was created during a year with no major design changes. No special editions, no high-profile errors expected. On paper, it should have been just another penny, unremarkable, forgettable, and destined for decades of quiet circulation. But as collectors discovered, something unexpected happened. A tiny fraction of these coins were struck with dramatic inconsistencies, unusual die states, and striking anomalies that created some of the rarest modern pennies now known. If you're wondering why these errors matter, let me give you an analogy. Imagine two paintings by the same artist. One is perfect. The other has a flaw, a brushstroke that shouldn't exist. Which one becomes priceless? The flawed one, the anomaly, the one that breaks the rules. Because collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying history, mystery, and rarity. Now, here's the cliffhanger that changed everything. When one of these unusual 1987 D pennies surfaced in nearly perfect condition, graded exceptionally high by professionals, it didn't sell for a few $100s or even a few thousand. It sold for an astonishing amount that pushed the coin into the realm of luxury assets. $987,000. And suddenly, the world of collectors stopped to ask, how many more of these are still out there? This brings us to a powerful turning point, because many of these rare coins were never identified. They were spent, circulated, tossed in jars, drawers, and envelopes. Which means right now, yes, right now, millions of Americans may be sitting on a rare 1987 D penny without knowing it. Before we go deeper, let me ask you something. When was the last time you really looked at your change? Not a glance, not a quick scan. I mean, really looked. Most people don't. But the people who do, they're the ones finding the life-changing treasures. So let's dive into what gives this penny its extraordinary value. First, condition. More than anything else, the coin's grade can skyrocket its price. A regular circulated 1987 D penny might buy you nothing more than a gumball, if gumball machines still took pennies. But a flawless or nearly flawless example, graded at the highest levels, becomes a rare gem. Why? Because out of the millions minted, only a microscopic percentage have survived without scratches, dents, discoloration, or wear. The second factor is rarity created through errors and anomalies. Some 1987 D pennies exhibit doubling on the lettering or date. Others reveal unexpected die cracks or off-center strikes. A small number have strange texture variations caused by worn dies. These little quirks might seem insignificant, but in the world of coins, they can mean the difference between pocket change and life-changing money. And the third factor, demand. The collector market for modern rare pennies has exploded in recent years. As older rare coins dry up and become impossible to find, collectors shift their attention to modern anomalies. And when demand skyrockets while supply stays impossibly low, prices surge into the stratosphere. But here's where things get really exciting. The 1987 D penny is one of the only modern coins to break the near-million-dollar barrier, and that means interest is only going to grow. People are searching, dealers are hunting, auctions are heating up, and the clock is ticking. Let's pause here for a humorous reset. Imagine trying to explain to your younger self that one day you'd be obsessing over the condition of pennies. Your teenage version might say, "Really? Pennies? That's what we're doing now." And yet, here you are watching a video about a penny worth almost $1 million. Life is full of surprises. This brings us to the emotional turning point, because behind every rare coin is a deeper truth. People aren't just looking for money. They're looking for hope, for opportunity, for a chance to break free from financial stress and step into a life of comfort, abundance, and security. And sometimes, opportunity shows up disguised as something small. Here's another cliffhanger for you. Somewhere right now, someone is about to discover another one of these rare 1987 D pennies. It might happen today. It might happen tomorrow. And the next person to find one could be watching this video, could be sorting through a coin roll, could be emptying a jar of change on their kitchen table. Could be you. So how do you know if your 1987 D penny is valuable? Start with the basics. Look for the D mint mark, located just below the date. Then examine the coin under bright light. Check the lettering. Look for doubling, cracks, or unusual textures. If something looks off, good. That might be your first clue. Next, check the condition. Coins with original luster, crisp details, and minimal marks have the best chance of reaching extraordinary values. And if your coin looks exceptional, do not rush to sell it. Get it inspected. Get it graded. A professional grading can take an ordinary-looking coin and reveal its true hidden value. But here's where the fear factor comes in. Every day that passes, more rare pennies are lost, damaged, or spent unknowingly. The opportunities disappear, and the people who hesitate are the ones who miss out. Meanwhile, those who take action, those who check, inspect, research, and submit coins, are the ones finding the $1,000 treasures, the $100,000 pieces, and yes, even the near-million-dollar rarities. And let's not forget the bigger picture. Rare coins aren't just collectibles. They're assets. Tangible, historical, physical assets that hold value, grow in value, and can be passed down for generations. Imagine the legacy of handing your children or grandchildren a coin worth nearly $1 million. Imagine the security, pride, and opportunity that brings. We're nearing the end of the story. But this is the moment that truly matters. Because now you know the truth. Life-changing value can hide in the smallest places. And the 1987 D Lincoln 1-cent penny is proof. Proof that opportunity is everywhere. Proof that wealth can be hidden in plain sight. Proof that anyone, yes, anyone, can stumble onto something extraordinary. So ask yourself, if a man in Colorado can find a penny worth almost $1 million in a tin of loose change, why not you? If someone else can change their life with a coin most people ignore, why not you? Your next step is simple. Go through your coins. Search your drawers. Look through jars, boxes, and old wallets. Don't leave any penny unchecked. Because the rarest opportunities don't come announced. They come disguised as everyday moments. And somewhere in the pockets, purses, and jars of America, another 1987 D penny is waiting to be discovered. Welcome back to another powerful journey into the world of hidden wealth, where ordinary pennies transform into extraordinary fortunes. Today, you're about to discover one of the most shocking, most misunderstood, and most astonishing secrets in American coin history. Because somewhere in homes, in forgotten drawers, in old jars, and in dusty boxes across the country, there may be a 1991 no-mint mark wheat Lincoln 1-cent penny worth up to $991,000. Yes, you heard that right. A coin most people would never look at twice could be the key to a wealthy, liberated future. But before you brush this off as impossible, let me ask you something. What if the one penny that could change your life is already in your possession, and you just haven't recognized it yet? Stay with me, because the story behind this rare 1991 no-mint mark wheat Lincoln cent is filled with mystery, fear, excitement, and a twist that keeps even seasoned collectors awake at night. This isn't just a coin. It's a doorway many people will walk past, but only a few will recognize and walk through. We begin with the first spark, the discovery. Whenever a rare penny appears, it doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It hides quietly among billions of ordinary cents, almost laughing at the idea that someone, someday, might look closely enough to reveal its true identity. The 1991 no-mint mark wheat Lincoln penny is the perfect example of this. While the United States officially stopped minting wheat cents decades earlier, an extremely limited number were struck in 1991 under mysterious circumstances. Some call it an error. Some call it a slip in production. Others call it fate. Whatever the truth is, these coins are so rare that most Americans have never even heard of them, let alone seen one. But the market value, a staggering $991,000 in top condition. Imagine the fear of knowing you may have already spent one. Imagine the excitement of realizing that an old coffee jar in your garage might hold the rarest penny of your lifetime. And imagine the urgency, because with every passing year, collectors are scrambling to identify these coins before someone else gets to them first. It all started when collectors discovered a few of these enigmatic coins at an auction, catching the entire numismatic community off guard. Experts whispered, investors circled, dealers talked in hushed tones. How did a wheat cent, a design retired decades before, end up minted in 1991? One theory suggests leftover dies were mistakenly used. Another says a private batch escaped into circulation. And then, my personal favorite, someone joked that maybe a time traveler dropped one. And honestly, in the world of rare coins, that theory doesn't even sound that crazy. But the truth is this: the rarity is real, and the market value is undeniable. The moment word got out, a wave of excitement washed across the community, followed by fear of missing out, fear of overlooking one, fear of realizing too late that the opportunity has already passed. At this point, you might be wondering, what does this coin look like, and how would you know if you're holding one? Great question, because this is where things become thrilling. Picture a 1991 penny, but instead of the memorial reverse design we're used to from that era, you see the classic wheat ears on the back, the design last widely minted in 1958. That small detail is the difference between a single cent and nearly $1 million. This odd mismatch is what makes the coin so valuable. If you see wheat ears on a 1991, you stop everything you're doing. If you see the year 1991 with no mint mark, your heart should start racing. And if both appear together, well, that's when you start imagining what your life looks like with nearly $1 million added to your bank account. But here's where the story twists again. Some of these coins show light weaknesses in the strike, some show odd metal flow patterns, and some show slight rim irregularities. All signs that the coin was never meant to exist. These details are what fuel the frenzy among collectors and bidders at premium auctions. Because in a world where rarity is everything, nothing is more valuable than a coin that almost didn't happen. As more people learned about the 1991 no-mint mark wheat Lincoln penny, something remarkable began to happen. Ordinary Americans, teachers, mechanics, retirees, young parents, started searching their old coin jars. Some searched for fun. Others searched because they desperately needed a breakthrough. And then there were the people who searched because something inside told them this could be their moment. You can imagine the emotional roller coaster, the excitement of every penny you flip over, the fear that you might miss one if you're not paying attention, the urgency that pushes you to keep looking even when your neck starts hurting and your eyes feel tired, and then the cliffhanger that repeats over and over. The next penny might be the one. Collectors call this the chase. And once you feel it, it's impossible to ignore. Now, let's shift gears slightly, because while the story of this coin is incredible, the deeper question is even more powerful. Why do rare coins like this become worth so much? The answer is simple: scarcity, demand, and the emotional connection people have to tangible pieces of American history. When something almost didn't exist, when it slipped through time like a ghost, when it survived against probability, that's when collectors place life-changing value on it. And this specific penny checks every box. Scarcity, off the charts. Demand, rising every year. Emotional connection, absolutely. Wheat cents are nostalgic. They remind people of childhood, of family, of tradition. Combine that with an impossible date and a current market value of $991,000, and you have a perfect storm. But here's the real pattern interrupt. Let me ask you something unexpected. If you had a penny worth almost $1 million right now, what's the first thing you'd buy? A house? A car? A vacation? Or would you invest it and build generational wealth? You might laugh, but that question is not as hypothetical as you think. Someone, somewhere in America, will eventually find another one of these rare pennies. And that someone could just as easily be you. Let's move deeper into the journey. The people who succeed in the world of rare coins share a mindset. They understand that wealth isn't just found, it's recognized. They understand that opportunity doesn't always shine. Sometimes it hides in the dullest copper color. They understand that the difference between a penny and a fortune is knowledge. And by watching this video, you've already taken a massive step into that mindset. But here comes another cliffhanger, something most people don't realize. The number of authenticated 1991 no-mint Mark Wheat Lincoln pennies might not be final. Some experts believe more exist in private collections, unrecognized, ungraded, and untouched. That means undiscovered treasures are literally sitting in people's homes right now. Imagine the fear collectors feel knowing that one more discovery could shift the market. Imagine the excitement investors feel when they realize how few opportunities like this exist. And imagine the urgency for you, the viewer, to start searching before someone else beats you to it. And now, let's zoom out for a moment, because this isn't just about coins. It's about the chance to transform your financial life. A single penny could wipe out debt, build savings, secure retirement, or fund a dream lifestyle. A single penny could change your family's story forever. This is why people aged 30 to 65 love these videos. Because in a world where everything feels expensive and unpredictable, rare coins offer something different: hope, possibility, and the chance to turn history into wealth. But what if I told you the most exciting part is still ahead? Because the final twist in this story is not about the coin itself, but about you. Your curiosity brought you here. Your desire for wealth kept you listening. And your growing awareness is opening doors that most people never bother to approach. Right now, you are one decision away from transforming your relationship with old coins. One decision away from searching your collection with new eyes. One decision away from potentially discovering a treasure that most people walk past without a second thought. And if you do find one, the market is ready. Collectors are ready. Auction houses are ready. The demand is climbing, and the price ceiling is rising with it. The question is, are you ready? Because every great story, including this one, ends with a choice. You can take this information, smile, and move on. Or you can act. You can check your old coin jars. You can inspect those dusty drawers. You can start looking at every penny that passes through your hands with a sharpened eye. You can join the rare group of Americans who not only appreciate history, but profit from it. Remember, life-changing opportunities don't always appear in shiny gold bars or massive investment portfolios. Sometimes, they appear in the smallest, simplest, most ignored object in your pocket. So here's your final cliffhanger. What if the next penny you touch is the one? Welcome back. Today, you and I are stepping into a world that most people overlook every single day. A world hidden in plain sight, sitting quietly in jars, drawers, and forgotten boxes. And yet, a single discovery from that world can change a person's life forever. Imagine finding a penny, a simple 1-cent coin, that carries a value so extraordinary it defies belief. A penny with a current market value of $993,000. Almost $1 million. For a coin most people would walk past on the sidewalk without a second glance. Today, we're uncovering the story, the secrets, and the opportunity behind the 1993 mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. A rare and unexpected piece turning everyday Americans into quiet millionaires. But before we go deeper, let me ask you something. When was the last time you checked your spare change? Seriously. And no, checking your bank account doesn't count. I'm talking about those dusty jars next to the fridge or that random bowl where keys, paper clips, and old receipts live. You might laugh, but that little bowl could be worth more than the car in your driveway. And trust me, by the time we're done here, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. The story of the 1993 penny begins like most legends do, quietly, unexpectedly, and with a touch of mystery. The Denver Mint produced millions of pennies that year, and 99.999% of them are worth exactly what you'd expect. 1 cent. Nothing more. but a tiny handful of them emerged different. Coins struck with unusual die errors, rare variations, extraordinary condition, or unexpected metal anomalies. These are the coins that slipped past inspectors, survived circulation, and somehow ended up in the hands of ordinary people. People who never imagined a coin sitting in a jar could hold the kind of value that shifts a family's financial future. And this is where fear creeps in, the fear of missing out. Because whether you know it or not, these rare coins are being found right now. People across the country are discovering treasures worth hundreds of thousands, even millions. And the terrifying part? These coins are not hiding in elite collections or locked museum vaults. They're hiding in the places you least expect. Your home, your drawer, your life. But the real magic of the 1993 penny lies not just in rarity, but in possibility. A few extraordinary specimens have sold for jaw-dropping prices, with one recorded market value reaching $993,000. That's enough to buy a home, pay off debt, transform retirement, or finally live the lifestyle so many people dream of but never think they can reach. And here's the wild part. Every one of those life-changing coins started in someone's pocket, someone's hand, someone's everyday life. Nothing glamorous, nothing dramatic, just a penny until it wasn't. Now, let's talk about the first key element that makes a 1993 penny skyrocket in value: condition. Most pennies are battered, scratched, worn, and bruised from decades of circulation. But the rarest and most valuable ones? They somehow survived untouched, maintaining a brilliant, almost mirror-like shine. Collectors call them mint state, and the higher the grade, the higher the price. A single grade difference can mean the difference between a penny worth $10 and a penny worth nearly $1 million. Isn't it strange how a tiny imperfection can decide the value of a fortune? Kind of like life, isn't it? But condition alone isn't enough. The real heavy hitters, the six-figure and seven-figure coins, usually carry something else: a dramatic and unexpected mint error. Missing elements, doubled features, off-center strikes, unusual planchet compositions, or die polishing lines that create rare visual effects. These anomalies turn a common coin into a treasure. They are the fingerprints of history, the mistakes that were never meant to exist, but somehow made their way into the world. Imagine this for a moment. You're holding a coin that no one else on Earth has. A coin so unique, collectors fight over it. A coin that auction houses chase like gold. And all because, years ago, a minting machine did something unusual for a fraction of a second. Fate is funny like that. But here's where excitement takes over fear. Because learning to identify these rare features isn't complicated. Anyone can do it with a clear eye and a bit of guidance. And the moment you know what to look for, you start seeing the world differently. Suddenly, every penny becomes a possibility. Every coin becomes a question. Every drawer becomes an opportunity. However, we're not done yet. A story is only as powerful as the people who live it. And the people finding these rare coins are not billionaires, numismatic scholars, or museum curators. They're everyday Americans, teachers, retirees, mechanics, small business owners, grandparents, young couples trying to get ahead. People who, just like you, kept old jars of change because, well, that's just something we do. One man found his valuable penny in a toolbox he hadn't opened in 15 years. A woman discovered hers inside a small envelope her father kept in a dresser. Another person found one stuck between car seats. And here's a humorous pattern interrupt for you. If any coin has ever disappeared between your car seats, you already know that's a black hole capable of swallowing entire civilizations. Who knows, maybe it swallowed $1 million penny too. But this brings us to something essential: the transformation. And this is not just about finding a valuable coin. It's about shifting your perspective on wealth. For years, many people believe wealth is something you build slowly, painfully, endlessly. But what if wealth can also surprise you? What if opportunity isn't something distant, but something already in your possession? What if the life you dream about, stability, freedom, confidence, luxury, starts with a penny sitting quietly somewhere in your home? This is where urgency enters the picture. Rare coins skyrocket in value not just because they're scarce, but because time increases their rarity. Every year, more coins are lost, damaged, or destroyed. Every year, collectors compete harder. Every year, the window narrows. The smart collectors, the smart sellers, the smart investors, they act now, not later. Waiting is the most expensive mistake in the coin world. So as we move deeper into this journey, ask yourself, what if the next life-changing penny is already in your home? What if you've held it, touched it, ignored it, and never realized its potential? That possibility alone is worth paying attention to. Now, let's move into the heart of the mystery, the metal itself. While most 1993D pennies are made of copper-coated zinc, a few extraordinary anomalies exist, including off-metal strikes. These extremely rare variants occur when a penny is accidentally struck on a planchet meant for another denomination. A penny struck on a dime planchet or a transitional metal piece can skyrocket to 6 or 7 figures. And yes, there are confirmed rare examples of 1990s pennies with composition errors. Could a 1993D be among them? Absolutely. That's part of what fuels its value and excitement. At this point, you might be wondering one thing. How does a simple penny end up nearly touching $1 million? Here's your answer. It's the perfect storm of rarity, condition, error, and demand. And when all these align, collectors don't just want the coin. They chase it, compete for it, pay for it. And that's how a tiny copper coin becomes a ticket to wealth. But don't go rushing off just yet, because now comes the cliffhanger. There's one more element that separates ordinary coins from legendary ones. One more thing that turns a penny from a collector's curiosity into a financial phenomenon. And this element is something most people never pay attention to. You're going to want to stay until the end for this. The final piece of the puzzle is provenance, the story behind the coin. A coin with a flawless history, a well-documented past, or a certified grade from a top-tier grading service can multiply its value dramatically. Collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying certainty, authenticity, confidence, a verified story. And if your coin has that story attached to it, its value can explode. So now you understand the full picture. Why the 1993D Lincoln penny, under the right conditions, can soar to an unbelievable $993,000. But the real question isn't about the coin anymore. The real question is about you. Will you check your change? Will you search your drawers? Will you take the time to look? Wealth doesn't always appear in the form of a job promotion, a business deal, or a lucky investment. Sometimes it appears as a penny someone once overlooked and someone else finally recognized. Right now, millions of Americans are sitting on coins that could alter their financial future, but they'll never know unless they look. And the next great discovery? It might be yours. So the moment this video ends, take action. Check your jars. Open those drawers. Look through those old boxes. Because opportunity doesn't knock. Sometimes, it jingles quietly in a handful of change. And who knows? The next time we talk, you might be holding a penny worth nearly $1 million. A penny that transforms your life, your future, and your financial destiny forever.